So in this video, we're going to be talking about cultural developments during the third century crisis, many of which have to do with religion and the interesting state of the Roman Empire in that respect. So the landscape of religion across the Roman Empire is in terms of local paganism, and that includes the Roman state religion. In other words, the religion that's practiced in, the city-state of Rome is an example of what is going on throughout the Mediterranean world, which is people worshiping their local gods, pagan gods that are manifestations of local natural forces. And so as I mentioned, Jupiter is the patron deity of the city-state of Rome and represents the natural forces in that place. Um, the Roman state religion doesn't export for this reason, and the Romans don't undertake the process of Romanization through the imposition of religion, which also has the negative effect of having subject peoples feel like their identity and heritage is being attacked. And so Romanization takes place through other means, through the propagation of Roman culture and economy, such that Rome becomes the center of the world over the course of a few generations. The Roman religion stays in Rome, and the Roman Empire, as a result, is unified through cultural and economic forces, but not through religion. And so, throughout the empire, many different local, pagan religions are practiced. The emperors from the Julio Claudians onward make a effort to tie local religions to Rome by including the Roman emperor amongst the local pagan gods in outlying provinces. Anywhere, in Italy, this would be, an embarrassing presumption and potentially bringing about the wrath of Roman and Italian gods. But out in the provinces, it's okay for people to include worship of the Augustus in the abstract. After all, Augustus and Julius Caesar are amongst the Roman gods, and so this isn't that much of a stretch. In the provinces where temples are built to the Roman emperor, this is conceptual in the sense of it's not necessarily tied to a particular emperor, but in terms of the spirit of the Roman emperor being a protective force in the provinces. And the Romans joke about this as being a sort of a barbarian thing that look how barbaric they are, that they would be willing to worship a Roman emperor. But this isn't used as a way of bringing about religious unity within the empire, simply because, once again, it's essentially local pagan, and so it's attached to local pantheons rather than being something that is a widespread connective tissue. Um, there are other efforts at bringing about new forms of religion, at various times in the ancient world. There are, times and places in which a particular god is meant to be paramount, and all of the other gods are made to be subservient. This is called henotheism. The most prominent case of this is actually in ancient Egypt, in the time of the New Kingdom, in which Akhenaten attempts to bring about a reform of religion with one superior god in order to bring back the power of the pharaohs. This is also something that seldom takes hold because it brings about a sense of concern about the wrath of the other gods that are being subordinated in such a way. Amongst the Greeks, we have something called philosophical monotheism, which generally talks about the gods as being present, but sort of in the abstract, in the collective, and the sort of a divine force that helped to create the universe, but is non-interventionist and exists in a way that supports humans finding their own capacity for achieving the unlocking of universal mysteries through the gift of rationality. And so philosophical monotheism is primarily about the capacity of mortals to achieve wisdom as a result of the gifts of an abstract divine force. And so this has a great deal of influence amongst, especially the noble classes that are most Hellenized. It has an impact on Stoicism, which has a great deal of spread throughout Roman culture, but it doesn't have a lot of uh, direct impact on ordinary everyday society and culture. In certain parts of the Eastern world, we have the development of dualist theologies in which there is a good force and an evil force, or a force of light and darkness, or a force of order and chaos. Most notably, this is associated with Zoroastrianism, which was the one of the key core religions of the Persians. Zoroastrianism says that there is a god of order and of light, Ahura Mazda, and a god of darkness and chaos, Ahriman. And what dualism offers is essentially the idea of choice, that people can ally themselves with one aspect of the universe or another. Both of them are complementary and necessary. And those who ally themselves with light and order, are beneficial to the order and structure of society. And so those who ally themselves with the side of chaos and darkness are antithetical to society. And this is again sort of a natural division amongst humans, and is reflective of the capacity for, again, reason and choice that is part of the human existence. Um, what is truly revolutionary, as I've hinted before, is Eastern monotheism, which has its origins in Judaism. The stages of the development of Judaism we don't have time to talk about here, but after the Babylonian captivity, Judaism revolves around a direct connection between a particular God, who is recognized as the only God, Yahweh, and a group of people that devote themselves to that God in exchange for that God's protection. And all the rest of the gods that other people worship are false gods, are demons, and only these people that create this sort of covenant of mutual benefit between, the God and the individuals are actually in a position to be protected by the gods. And so Eastern monotheism under Judaism is transformative because other religions are bound to place. Paganism is bound to the local natural forces. Judaism is connected to people. And so this means that it is a much more powerful force for identity. And this carries over into Christianity and Islam, which descend from Judaism. This revolutionary monotheism is a new and stronger form of cultural identity, which surpasses the strength of identity that comes from place, that comes from city state, that is prevalent throughout the history of humanity up to this point. Revolutionary monotheism, Judaism and Christianity, and later Islam, are a means of transforming the capacity for identity beyond beyond simple location. And so, as we see, this makes Judaism a direct threat to the Roman Empire, and Christianity as well, because a tremendous it has tremendous capacity to bring about a powerful sense of identity in rivalry with the Romanization of the provinces. The Romans seek to counteract this in two ways. One is attempting to develop an alternative unifying religion that can bring about connectivity throughout the Roman Empire superseding local paganism. And the likely candidate for this is the natural force that all humans share, which is the sun. And so the Romans develop a new form of pagan worship that involves a god associated with the sun that is in common to all mortals. And this is the cult of Sol Invictus, which is pursued by individual emperors. Elagabalus takes the name Heliogabalus in recognition of this, but a number of emperors attempt to promote a unifying identity throughout the empire through the pursuit of the cult of Sol Invictus, by trying to beef up the cult of the emperors, and through persecution. Persecution of the Christians, again, is very dependent upon individual emperors taking a dislike to the Christians and seeing them as a personal threat. And so we see this, sporadically, again, going all the way back to Nero, but particular emperors during the third century, as the Roman Empire is destabilizing, the threat of Christianity becomes a easy target and is attacked with much more vitriol by particular emperors. Despite this persecution, or in some ways because of it, the second and third centuries are a period of tremendous growth for Christianity. The persecution brings about martyrs to the cause of Christianity that are venerated by the Christians. Christianity spreads through stories of the teachings of Christ and also of the deeds of the devoted followers, many of whom are killed or maimed by the oppression of the Romans. And this brings about the Romans as a common enemy for Christians, Romans and Christians in an adversarial relationship comes about through these periodic persecutions. More than this, though, Christianity has an immense appeal at the ground level, and so spreads rapidly by bringing about the optimism and hope and investment of ordinary people who feel themselves to be disenfranchised, the poor, women, freedmen, people that are whose Roman identity is problematic for them in terms of the nature of the Roman system, find solace and security in a Christian identity, and in the promise of an afterlife with Christ that comes with this. Paganism doesn't promise an afterlife like this in most senses. Christianity offers an opportunity for things to be improved in the life after your death. So Christianity spreads rapidly through the Roman Empire in the second and third centuries at the level of the ordinary town and village as a semi-subversive force. And the individual communities that develop, the individual congregations, connect with each other and create a network of mutual support, which builds upon it a level of hierarchy and infrastructure that becomes the idea of local priest and regional bishop and larger region archbishop that it allows the Christian community to share resources and to feel a level of connectivity, which in the third century the Roman Empire is not providing. And as the Roman Empire starts to break down during the third century crisis, the network of Christians, of Christian congregations, is able to step in by taking care of people that the Romans aren't able to take care of, by rebuilding bridges and ensuring that people don't go hungry and things like this. The Romans create a vacuum through the failure of their system, which draws in, which is filled by the Christian structure. And that structure solidifies and strengthens so that it becomes not only a rival identity, but a rival institution, an institution that is doing things that the Roman Empire cannot. And so, this only makes the Christians a more visible and problematic target. And much of church history, of the history of early Christianity, is about the extent to which individual emperors undertake, vicious and violent retribution against the Christians for, creating this alternate system, this alternate identity. The resolution of the third century crisis is almost unundertakeable. The problem is that it requires dynamic leadership in a way that returns to the emperor the kind of faith and trust that it started out with. That includes a sense of stability. That includes an ability to win wars. That includes an ability to resolve the economic instability. An emperor has to be able to show that emperors are capable of doing this. And with the revolving door, with emperors killing emperors, and all of these people that are coming into the emperorship, taking it by force, and then being thrown out of it in turn, the factionalization, the division of every level of Roman society, this is nearly an impossible task. The first glimmer of possibility is with Aurelian, who reigns from 270 to 275. Aurelian, as an emperor, a warrior emperor, shows military prowess. He repels invaders in Italy. And protects Rome itself, which turns back the tide and begins to recover territories. His military leadership is inspiring to the legions, and this brings about a greater capacity for victories: Palmyra, Syria, Egypt, Anatolia. He's able to begin the process of restoring Gaul to Roman stability. He undertakes coinage reform, consolidation of mints, and the building of new mints with coins guaranteed silver content. He encourages the spread of the cult of Sol Invictus. All of these are necessary steps, and if Aurelian had ruled longer, it's possible that he would have been able to undertake a real diversion of the empire into recovery. But he is killed by his own soldiers, and there's 10 more years of turmoil. Nonetheless, the Aurelian's military conquests help to arrest the loss of territory and the sense that the Roman Empire itself is in danger of being swallowed up by barbarians. And the conquest of Palmyra becomes a story that is much told, in part because of the queen that is sort of representative of the adversarial forces that the empire is engaged with, by telling a story of a particular queen, and by telling a story that has to do with the Romans as one kind of ruler and the barbarians as another kind. This helps to set the story in a way that is less about catastrophe and more about what individuals are able to achieve on the basis of their own capabilities. The real recovery has to wait for the end of that remaining decade of turmoil and the coming of Constantine and Diocletian. And that's what we'll be talking about next week. For now, that's that.